dass ich gearbeitet habe.
It is difficult to track down one single event that's
Hello, friends. World War II is the most devastating war in human history. Numerous large cities were left in ruins after this war. Today, nearly all geopolitical events and international relations can be traced back to this war. Friends, I've told you many stories from World War II in previous videos. But in this video, let's understand World War II in depth from start to end. What exactly happened? Why? And what was its impact? This is the story of World War II.
events that conspired together to eventually light the flame of war.
The world's most hated treaty, the Treaty of Versailles.
It is difficult to track down one single event that sparked the conflict. For ultimately, it was a series of events that conspired together to eventually light the flame of war. The world's most hated treaty, the Treaty of Versailles, thus starting World War II in 1939. The whole world is against Hitler and Hitlerism. Let's begin this story in 1919, the year when World War I ended and the famous peace treaty was signed, known as the Treaty of Versailles. This treaty contained an important clause, Article 231, which held that all the losses caused due to World War I Germany was to bear the responsibility for all such losses. This clause is also known as the War Guilt Clause because, basically, it was trying to imply that, regardless of the countries participating in the war, Germany was to be blamed for it entirely. France and Britain wanted Germany to pay heavy costs for losing this war. They wanted to recover their losses from Germany. As a result, according to the Treaty of Versailles, Germany was told to pay a fine of $33 billion to the other countries. In today's money, it amounts to around $270 billion. This is such a large amount that you won't believe it was only in 2010 that Germany made the final payment of this fine. It took almost 100 years. You'd wonder where this money came from. Obviously, from Germany, from its citizens. The first payment of this fine was made by Germany in 1921. Right after that, there was hyperinflation in Germany. Germany's currency back then was the German mark. You can't imagine how rapidly it was devalued. In 1922, in Berlin, a packet of bread cost 160 marks. The following year, in 1923, the same packet of bread cost 200 billion marks. Obviously, the economy was crippled and the rate of unemployment rose rapidly. In such circumstances, in our story, entered Adolf Hitler, a young political leader who knew how to manipulate the masses with his speeches. In 1923, Hitler's Nazi party tried to overthrow the German government by staging a coup. Even though this attempt failed, this caused Hitler's popularity among the masses to increase manifold. Rumors were spread among the people that the embarrassment faced by Germany, the international humiliation of Germany was because of the anti-national elements living in the country. People were distressed. It was easy to manipulate them. Hitler claimed that the Jews and socialists living in the country were to be blamed. They were the reason for Germany's disgrace. Over the next 10 years, propaganda was used in abundance. Media organizations were paid. Hate speeches were everywhere. In 1929 came the Great Depression. This worsened the already bad unemployment situation. In 1933, 6 million people were unemployed in Germany. Many people were homeless. Children were starving to death. As a result, in 1933, Hitler declared himself the dictator of Germany. After taking over full control of the country, Hitler started working on making his dream of a German empire come true, the German Reich, a state that would be racially pure. Its residents would be people of the Aryan race only. There would be no space for Jews and Slavs. To fill people with hatred, they came up with the Judeo-Bolshevism conspiracy theory. According to this conspiracy theory, the Russian Revolution in 1917 was supposedly caused by the Jews, which eventually led to the formation of the Soviet Union. In 1935, the rest of the world came to know that Germany had an air force. This might not seem like a big deal to you after all. Every country has an air force. But friends, the Treaty of Versailles laid down the condition that Germany cannot have any form of military power. This was an open violation of the Treaty of Versailles by Hitler. But by this point, Hitler had become so popular that no one could stop him. In 1936, Hitler sent his army to the Rhineland, which was a demilitarized zone as per the Treaty of Versailles. Again, a violation, but Britain and France did nothing. They followed a policy of appeasement. Hitler realized that no one was going to stop him. In 1938, he annexed Austria. This event is known as the Anschluss. Again, no reaction from the world. Emboldened, Hitler turned to Czechoslovakia. He claimed that the Sudetenland region, which had a German-speaking population, should be part of Germany. Britain and France, fearing war, agreed in the Munich Agreement of 1938. They allowed Hitler to take the Sudetenland in exchange for his promise not to expand further. But Hitler he soon took over the entire Czechoslovakia in 1939. Now, Hitler turned his eyes to Poland. He wanted the Danzig corridor, which separated East Prussia from Germany. Poland refused. On September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland using a new tactic called Blitzkrieg lightning war with fast tanks and air support. 2 days later, on September 3rd, Britain and France finally declared war on Germany. This marked the official start of World War II in Europe. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union, under Stalin, had signed a non-aggression pact with Germany. Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact in August 1939, secretly agreeing to. The Soviets invaded eastern Poland on September 17th. With Poland conquered, Hitler turned west. In April 1940, Germany invaded Denmark and Norway. In May, the Netherlands, Belgium, and France fell quickly. The British army barely escaped at Dunkirk. By June 1940, France surrendered and a puppet government was set up in Vichy. Britain stood alone. Hitler offered peace, but Prime Minister Winston Churchill refused. "We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender." In July 1940, the Battle of Britain began. Germany's Air Force tried to bomb Britain into submission, but the RAF Royal Air Force held them off with radar and Spitfire fighters. This was Hitler's first major defeat. Frustrated, Hitler turned east. On June 22, 1941, Germany invaded the Soviet Union. Operation Barbarossa with 3 million troops. They advanced deep, capturing millions of prisoners, but the harsh Russian winter and Soviet resistance stopped them at Moscow and Stalingrad. Stalingrad 1942 to 1943 was a turning point. The Germans surrendered after massive losses. Meanwhile, in Asia, Japan, allied with Germany via the Axis Pact, had invaded China in 1937. On December 7, 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, bringing the United States into the war. The U.S. declared war on Japan, and Germany declared war on the U.S. days later. The war became truly global. In North Africa, Rommel's Afrika Korps fought the Allies. In the Pacific, battles like Midway turned the tide against Japan. Key Allied victories: El Alamein 1942 in Africa, Guadalcanal in the Pacific, and the Soviet counteroffensive. On June 6, 1944, D-Day, the Allies invaded Normandy, France, with 156,000 troops. Paris was liberated by August. From the east, the Soviets pushed into Germany. In December 1944, the Battle of the Bulge was Hitler's last gasp. In the West, it failed. By April 1945, Soviet forces encircled Berlin. Hitler committed suicide on April 30th. Germany surrendered on May 8th. V-Day. In the Pacific, the U.S. firebombed Tokyo and dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima August 6th and Nagasaki August 9th. Japan surrendered on September 2nd. V-Day. World War II ended. Over 70 to 85 million people died, 3% of the world's population. Cities like Dresden, Hiroshima, and Leningrad were devastated. The Holocaust killed 6 million Jews in concentration camps like Auschwitz. Friends, World War II teaches us about the dangers of nationalism, propaganda, and complacency. If we don't learn, history repeats itself. If you liked this, like, share, subscribe. See you in the next one.